Hey guys, here's a video tutorial on how to use MyFitnessPal. So MyFitnessPal is an excellent tool that allows you to track your calorie intake and to truly understand whether or not you're hitting your individual macronutrient targets that have been set for you. So whether you're currently looking to lose body fat, whether you're following a reverse diet, or whether you're looking to actually build calories so that you build lean muscle tissue, ultimately understanding calories is going to be the key to knowing whether or not you're on track to provide the body with what it needs in order to see the changes that you want. So by going into a little bit more depth, you're understanding nutrition a lot more, and you're going to find out essentially what type of macronutrient splits actually work best for you and the goals that you've got. But when it comes to MyFitnessPal, if you're new to using MyFitnessPal, it can seem quite confusing, can seem like there's quite a lot to learn. So in this video tutorial, I'm just going to break down how to use the app and how it can be useful for you to understand whether or not you're hitting the targets that have been set by your coach. So when we enter MyFitnessPal, we'll see that the first thing that you'll do once you've downloaded the app is you'll create a profile, which obviously allows you to then input your data. This would actually track your progress throughout the time that you're using the app as well. You'll see this section which says goals, where you can enter your starting weight, obviously what your goal weight would be, and then it will also work out what the calories should be in inverted commas for you. Now what we found is if you use the app alone, it will actually provide you with more calories than what you actually need. So more often than not, you aren't going to be in a calorie deficit, so completely ignore this section for it to be able to actually tell you what to consume, because we're going to be controlling that. However, in this goals section, what I like about it is if we go into calories, carbs, proteins and fats, you can actually set the calories in here to what you've been set obviously by your coach for your nutritional plan. So for example, let's say your starting calories are 2,550 and your coach wants you to eat 255 grams of carbs, 223 grams of protein and 71 grams of fat. Then you would easily be able to input the data into this section so that when you're adding your food, the actual app will track your progress for you. So as we exit that section, one thing that we can do now is we can actually go into the app and start to see how we can use it. So the great thing about the app is pretty much it has every food that you're going to possibly eat listed. Sometimes you might have to do a little bit of searching to make sure that you find the right data, and other times you could actually use the barcode of the product itself. So for example, if we're looking to find out what's in a certain food, let's say you have poached eggs on toast for your breakfast, so 2 poached eggs and this is 1 slice of toast, you could add another slice of toast on top if you have 2, then there's already a pre-worked out poached eggs on toast option for you to click on. Now as we click inside, you'll see that there are 13.9 grams of carbohydrates, 11.5 grams of fats and 16.4 grams of protein. So if we press tick, then ultimately what you'll see is that the calorie amount will be deducted from your total calories that you should be eating per day, but then also your carbohydrates, fats and proteins can be found in this section when we click on calories remaining, and we'll see macros. Another way to find that is to go down to the bottom, go to nutrition and press macros. So this is the data that you need, and this is the data that your coach needs, because ultimately we'll have set a program and a nutritional plan based on a deficit in order to be able to help you lose body fat, or based on slowly rebuilding calories for a reverse diet, and similarly the same for obviously a muscle gaining phase. So in those macros, you'll see ultimately they're going to be changed downwards over time if you're looking for a deficit, or upwards if we're trying to reach maintenance or a surplus. So this section allows you to actually check whether or not you're on track for the targets that have been set by your coach for the goal that you've got. Now, a little recap on nutrition then, and the different food types. Now, obviously, when we're looking at carbohydrates, largely we're going to get the most amount of carbohydrates from foods like cereal, bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. When we're looking at fats, we're going to get the large amount of fats from foods like olives, avocados, nuts, seeds. Obviously, what we're cooking in terms of cooking oils, spreads like margarine, like butter. Ideally, you'd obviously go for, again, the low-fat versions where you can to save calories, and also things like dark chocolate. So we're going to get fats from those type of foods. Now, obviously, I'm picking the healthy versions of foods. Now, as you can see in the database, you can find virtually the calories of any type of food in here. I'm just giving you an idea of what's what when it comes down to the individual macronutrients. Then when we look at protein, we've got fatty proteins and we've also got lean proteins. So fatty proteins being foods like lamb, like some cuts of beef, like some cuts of pork, then also looking at things like salmon, eggs, mackerel. These would be fatty proteins alongside tofu as well if you're vegetarian, and also some corn options are going to have quite a high amount of fat in them. Then when we look at lean proteins, we're going to be looking at foods like chicken, turkey, obviously white fish. We're looking at food like shellfish, so prawns, and then looking at things like cockles, mussels, that's those sorts of foods. Low-fat dairy products like cottage cheese, low-fat cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. Also, again, corn fillets, so not the fatty versions of the corn. So corn fillets would also be a lean protein option for you, alongside whey protein as well. So these are the two different types of proteins that are largely going to be found in your diet. But one thing that you'll find is that every different food is going to have some level of combination of carbs, fats and proteins, and this is where the app comes in really handy, because ultimately it's going to do all the legwork for you and track where those macros and those calories are. So have a little play around with the app. As you start looking through the different food, you're going to see virtually every type of food that you possibly could want to find, and also it's going to be able to give you the individual nutrients within that food, good, bad or indifferent. So if we put in chocolate bar, then we'll find a chocolate bar. You can even talk about the individual product itself. If you wanted a dairy milk, and by pressing the green tick, that would typically give us the data that's been set by MyFitnessPal itself. But if you can't find it on the green tick, and we can see a dairy milk bar here, and then you're going to find out the individual data. We add that along again, and we can see it's being deducted from our totals. So every day your job is pretty much to try and get as close to the calories that have been set by your coach. Another feature on this product that I like is if we go into the more section, we drop down to my meals, recipes and foods. Well, you can actually create recipe plans, so you haven't got to enter the individual data every single time. So for example, if you're going to make a spaghetti bolognese, you can actually create that as one of your recipes. If you're going to make a chili, same thing. Then all you literally do when it comes to your meal times is you'll go into your individual recipe guides, and you'll find the information that's right there under recipes, and it will add all of the macronutrients to your MyFitnessPal. One last thing, if you can't find a food in the actual system, then one thing you can do is you can click the barcode. So the barcode is there. Now obviously my finger's over the camera because I've not got a product in front, but if you've got a product in front, then ultimately it will scan the barcode and give you all the nutritional data once again. So really good tool to be able to give you more skills and more understanding when it comes to what's in the food that you're eating. One thing that I would always recommend is, first and foremost, to check the database for the foods that you like, to also look through all the recipe guides that I've shared with you, which will give you the macronutrient splits of every single recipe, and start piecing together a meal plan that actually fits your macros ahead of time. Because one thing that you'll find is if you simply log as you go, you're going to see a disparity in proteins, fats and carbohydrates in the same way that we found when we asked you for your food diaries. So by looking at the types of proteins that you like, by looking at the types of foods that you like, and making sure that you're hitting your numbers, before you actually eat the food. That makes it much easier because you've worked out a plan. So I always recommend creating a 2-week meal plan based off your current calories that have been set for you, so that you know exactly what you're going to be eating and that there's going to be less guesswork. If we can control this as much as we possibly can, then we've got a better chance of achieving the outcomes that we want to achieve in terms of your results. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's been really useful for you. And obviously I will see you again soon.